Week 1 of the NFL is officially in the books, ending with an insane game between the Jets and the Bills that has a lot of implications headed out of it, but we'll talk about that later in the video. But what's crack-a-lackin'? It's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become bro and subscribe. Leave this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed the content as always. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, where we have that nice, beautiful football discourses. We're going to be doing our Week 2 power rankings, baby. If you're unfamiliar, I like to break this up into 5 tiers. Being, you got bottom of the league, could be but unlikely playoff contenders. You got wild card contenders, playoff teams, and Super Bowl contenders. And we like to start it from the bottom here, and it's, for me, it's still the Arizona Cardinals, right? I think we all could agree with that. I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. The offense did nothing. It came out, it looked about as good as people expected it. To be fair, they contended with the Commanders. A lot of that's on the defense, like Marco Wilson and wasn't it Keitrell Clark out there had a solid game. Like a pass rush looked a little bit better than expected, but you can tell this is still, for the most part, a bottom team. Their defense can only do so much, so they're going to probably be sticking around here for quite some bit. But right next to them, I'm actually going to put the Houston Texans. I think it's going to be a long year for CJ Stroud. That offensive line looked really bad, as they already took injuries early to Kenyon Green. I believe, who was the center out of Pittsburgh they drafted? I know he started on like the IR, so we're not going to see him for a little bit. Josh Jones apparently is just a left tackle only. He is bad. He hasn't been good at right tackle, and he's even worse at guard, and he had a terrible game against Baltimore. The playmakers are limited. Just offensively, it's going to be a long year, but Will Anderson looked really good in his rookie appearance, first appearance as a rookie. First game, his debut. Let's go with that. He looked pretty good. I think he had like 5 pressures and a sack, and I think the defense will be solid, but it's going to be a long year for the offense. Bears fans, I don't know, you might hate me after I do this, but I'm going to have the Chicago Bears right here at technically 30 for me. The quick game wasn't working. It wasn't working. And when they went deep, it didn't go well. It didn't go well. Like Darnell Mooney, he had the touchdown deep, but outside of that, just doesn't look poised in the pocket. For the few clean pockets he was given, because the offensive line was terrible, he would exit early at him, try to rely on his feet. And you know what? The defense, the pass rush, is just non-existent. And it's going to make it tough on that back 7 that I think is pretty talented defensively. And then the offensive line. Nate Davis, he was like one of my favorite signings by the Bears. Probably had the worst game of his career. Darnell Wright very much looked like a rookie. They just got mollywopped by the Green Bay Packers. I think it might be a long year for the Bears. Let's see who we got next here. I got the Indianapolis Colts. They're probably going to be trending up for me, but defensively, I think they got a lot of talent, but Gus Bradley just doesn't like to blitz, and honestly, this team just can't get pressure in these one-on-ones by themselves, and it puts a lot of strain on the secondary. I think we kind of saw that against the Jags. Offensively, Anthony Richardson, he looked, I think, better than most people anticipated. However, still a long way to go. There was the inaccuracies. For the most part, it was pretty simple for him, but you see a lot of the traits. So I'm gonna put them here. I think they could rise slowly but surely in this process. And let's just keep talking about rookie quarterbacks, because I got the Carolina Panthers coming in next. Bryce Young, I thought he looked pretty all right. But he had those 2 picks over the middle. And listen, rookie, you typically don't want your rookies going over the middle, because they're usually gonna they're gonna miss guys underneath or over the top, and those guys are gonna come in and make plays and force these rookies to make mistakes. And I think once Bryce Young gets kind of like geared up for NFL speed and whatnot, I think he's gonna be a lot better. But man, Jesse Bates really, really made him pay over the middle twice. The guards looked pretty bad. Like Chandler Zavala, he's a rookie, so I guess it was to be expected. But Brady Christensen, whew, not great. It didn't look great for him. No DJ Chark, and it just felt like there were no playmakers. I think their leading receiver was Hayden Hurst. Defensively, they just got kind of worn down. The run defense was, to be fair, like the stinking Falcons are a really good run blocking team. So yeah, the run defense is kind of whatever. Brian Burns looked really good. I thought Frankie Louvu looked pretty solid, but the Panthers, I think very much they are a team in a rebuild. They just got a new coaching staff in there, so yeah, maybe they're going to be trending more towards bottom of the league. Now, I only have one more team in this category, and it is, in fact, the Washington Commanders. Sam Howell looked like a guy making his second career start. And, I thought he did a lot of things well, but there were also times he put the ball in harm's way, and it was kind of cataclysmic. I think he might end up costing this team a lot of wins. Defensively, this team was really, really good. But I kind of have my hesitations about Howell. But I think Howell's going to look good enough for them to want to move forward with them. I don't know. Maybe this is being a bit too hard on them. In all, you look, they only dropped 2 spots here. So it's not like a big drop for them. I just thought some teams maybe looked a little bit more impressive coming out in week 1. And let's just go ahead to this next tier. The whole could be but unlikely. And I'm going to start with the Los Angeles Rams. I was mighty impressed with the Rams here. I said in my deep dive video, I was like, this offense has a chance to be really good and better than people expect. But it's really hard looking at that defense. It's young. Will Aaron Donald go back to elite status, even though, last year he was banged up, but still he was playing pretty darn well. So there was a ton of questions, and I was like, maybe this team can surprise and etch out a few wins, but I don't think they're really going to be in playoff contention, especially with Cooper Kupp out. They come out and they just smack the Seahawks in the mouth. Is there any guarantee this is going to be the team they look like throughout the rest of the season? No, but Byron Young looked good defensively. Like I said, Aaron Donald was just a monster. He made Damian Lewis's day a living hell. We could talk about Puka Nacua, the BYU rookie, who was basically taking the role of Cooper Kupp. He looked solid. Tutu Atwell coming out of nowhere. Coming out of nowhere. He had some flashes last season, but really looked impressive. And I feel like they really caught this Seattle team off guard. So I'm very interested. Matthew Stafford looked healthy and he looked good. And then the next team in here, it's gotta be the Raiders, right? It's just gotta be. I was thoroughly impressed with the Raiders. Jimmy G, and I said this in last week's Power Rankings video, this is a team that has a chance to be better than where I currently have them projected, because Jimmy G really brings that stability. The offense wasn't explosive, wasn't flashy. No, not really, but it was mistake-free. And the defense, better than expected. Granted, the pass rush was basically just Max Crosby with Chandler Jones not playing because of reasons. You had Divine Diablo played a good game. And honestly, I thought the secondary did solid enough. Just thinking Jacoby Myers has been a solid addition for the squad. I think, again, this is a team, that's creeping more towards average. Jimmy G kind of brings that stability. He's just such a good fit for Josh McDaniels. It's like he's played under him. Next up here, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I knew this defense was exceptionally great. I think I had them as a top 10 defense, but it was just questions with the offensive line, which there still very much are. And Baker Mayfield, with his peaks will come his valleys. And in this case, it was Baker didn't do really anything to hurt the team and the defense was able to basically slow the Vikings enough to where, hey, the Bucs, they got some points, they won the game. And I honestly, that could be good enough. I don't know. We'll see with like Baker, the highlights, the lowlights. I mean, he's got Mike Evans, he's got Chris Godwin, he's got very capable receivers, very good receivers to take advantage of. So I don't know. We'll see how this Tampa Bay team does going forward. Next team on here is the Tennessee Titans. They dropped a couple of spots for me. I wasn't exceptionally high on them, but man, Ryan Tannehill really looked bad. 3 interceptions, just a terrible game for him. Might have been the worst outing of any quarterback this weekend, honestly. But it really cost the team because the defense played great, really did. They kept this team in the ball game, and I mean, I don't think they're gonna. You can't make a move this early, right? Taking just benching Tannehill. I feel like maybe you see a couple of more of these outings, you're gonna be like, yeah, no, we need something else. And it's like, will Levis be ready, or do they go to Malik Willis? It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. But this team was let down by their quarterback. Really was. All right, we got the New York Giants. Listen, I think they're a better team than what we saw Sunday night. Golly, that stream sucked. It was boring. I think they're a better team than that. But I don't know how much of a better team they are than what we saw. Like, they were bad. I've never been a big believer in Daniel Jones. I think, yeah, he's got the ability to make some big plays, especially with his feet. But I thought he was very much protected by the play calling. And if that offensive line, if they're not going to get better, then I just don't see this team just competing. I mean, they were very much overachievers last season. I don't know if they could run that back. I really don't. All right, I think I got 2 more teams up here. Trying to think. Should I just? Yeah, no. We're gonna roll with 2 more teams, and this could be, but unlikely. I'm gonna start with the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson looked better than he did last year, but still this offense went stagnant. I don't really think he made any, like, I don't really remember seeing any plays or passes where I was like, oh golly, he's gonna cost this team a victory here, which, I mean, they didn't win anyway. But I felt like, I mean, we didn't see Marvin Mims for like all of 11 snaps in that game. There was no Jerry Jeudy. Cortland Sutton was the only really means of offense because Greg Dulcich got hurt in that game. And it was really just Cortland Sutton. And he's kind of like a streaky player. Like, injuries have kind of really screwed up what was looking to be a promising career. I just don't know if he could be a dominant, like, alpha. You know, and so it just feels like this team lacks playmakers. To be fair, like, Patrick Surtain had a phenomenal game against Devontae Adams. Was it Damari Mathis, who's opposite of him? Got roughed up by Jacoby Myers. Just throwing that out there. But yeah, man, I don't know. I'm kind of like on the standstill. This team just feels very mediocre. Really does. And speaking about mediocre, I can't really say that Minnesota is a mediocre team. It's just how far can Kirk Cousins take them? Like, the defense, really the defense was better than I anticipated in some regards. There was no Marcus Davenport this past game, but it was literally Danielle Hunter, and that's it. No one else was getting pressure. Brian Flores, they actually ran a majority of zone. I think they only ran man coverage about 18% of the time. So very low compared to what you would normally see with a Flores. So maybe it looks like he's I don't really have the personnel to run that. So we're not going to do that. That was very interesting. And honestly, the corners kind of played a good game for the most part. But yeah, offensively, you had the Kirk Cousins mistake really to cost them big. The run game couldn't get started by any means. Garrett Bradbury, I believe, was hurt very early in this game. And I don't even remember who they replaced him with. But it's kind of wild because, like, they bring in a guy off the bench, and still the guy next to him, Ed Ingram, is far worse. Like, Ed Ingram was really bad this game. He just was. So I don't know if he's going to take that next step because his rookie year wasn't all that great. It really wasn't. So it's going to be interesting. But as you can see, some of these teams I had as pretty big fallers. I'm trying to kind of even things out because I'm not trying to overreact too much, and we'll kind of see that as we get higher on the list. As teams I thought would be better that may have done it in week one, you're not going to see a lot of movement from them. But let's go ahead and move on to my wildcard contenders because it is by far the biggest list I have, and we're going to start at 19 with the New England Patriots. I'm still kind of wavering about this because they still have, like, to my projections, the second toughest schedule in the NFL. It's going to be tough, but Mac Jones looks pretty impressive. Does he got the biggest arm? Hell no. Hell no. Does he got a weak arm? It's pretty mediocre, but he is pinpoint accurate, and he can throw with good touch. He knows how to, he honestly, like, he had some really nice passes in this game, and this game was within reach against the Eagles, the reigning NFC champions. I mean, you had the fluky pick six that was like slipped off his receiver's hands because granted, it like rained early in that game. You had Keyshawn Butte not being able to keep his feet in bounds on the catch that just ended the drive, ended the game essentially for the Patriots. But Mac Jones put this team in a position to win the game. And it's not like he was getting help from the offensive line because Michael Onwenu was out this game. And they were essentially starting two rookies at guard. You had my boy City Sow and the UCLA guard. They got destroyed by Jalen Carter. it was an annihilation. And Calvin Anderson, while I still think he probably is a better option than Riley Reef, wasn't all that great either, so the pressure was there for him. But he did a good job of handling it. And if this is the Mac Jones we get and not last year's, yeah, you could make a case that Mac Jones is someone worth moving forward with because the defense kept, like for the Patriots, kept them in this ball game. They did a good job of kind of like just keeping Philadelphia like under wraps. Next on this list is the Green Bay Packers. Very impressive game, but it was against a very lackluster Bears team. The offensive line looked great, but it's not like the Bears were going to be challenging them with their defensive line. They did this without Christian Watson. Romeo Doubs looked really good. Jordan Love looked really good. Aaron Jones is a superstar. He really is. Put the ball in his hands more. And the defense looked really, really good for Green Bay. So feel like things are turning up for him. So maybe they're the team to compete. I don't know. It's looking like the NFC North is going to be very competitive this year. Next, I have the Atlanta Falcons. It's not like they play in the toughest division. You got the Panthers, the Bucks, and the Saints in there. But this is a team that I think is good enough to win that division. Their defense looked very impressive against the Carolina Panthers. They got a lot of pass rush, something that Atlanta fans haven't seen in quite some time. And offensively, they want to run the football, and they didn't need to put the ball in Desmond Ridder's hands. I mean, things were pretty simple for him. If a time ever comes that they need to put it in Desmond Ridder's hands, I don't have a lot of confidence that will go well. But again, we didn't necessarily have to see it in this past game or in this past weekend. We will eventually see it though sometime But Bijan and Tyler Algier, man, that's just scary. Pittsburgh Steelers actually don't move at all on my rankings. I'm not going to listen, they got smacked by the Niners almost immediately. I don't want to overreact too much to it. I still think this team, I think better days are ahead, especially offensively. The offensive line just played very poorly. It really did. Kenny Pickett didn't really have much time. The run game was non-existent, and to be fair, they kind of had to ditch it early because they got down so early. I think the Niners had almost 38 minutes of total time of possession. I didn't think the Steelers' defense was all that bad. At least like the defensive line, they were doing damage. TJ Watt, like 6 pressures, 3 sacks, looked great. Had a hell of a day. Patrick Peterson kind of got mollywopped by Brandon Ayuk. But like all in all, that was a defense forced to stay on the field a ton because offensively they couldn't do nothing. But I do think better days are ahead. I just think maybe the Niners, they're just him. They are him. It's a really good team. Next, I have Derek Carr and the New Orleans Saints. You know what? Derek Carr, as long as he could like minimize turnovers, which he did have a bad interception against the Titans, the dude has the playmakers. Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Michael Thomas, healthy, all that looking great. Jawan Johnson, he's a good target. The run game couldn't do nothing because their guards kind of stink, but it is what it is. Trevor Penning didn't have a great outing either, but he really didn't have much of a rookie year. So I don't know. We'll find out more with that. Defense looked great. They were getting pressure. I loved it. Their defense could keep them in ball games, and Derek Carr, I think, has enough upside to take advantage of that. Next here is a bit of a faller. The Seattle Seahawks. Like I said, they stumbled out the gates, and they stumbled hard. It was ugly. It's like they didn't even show up. Geno only took 4 shots, I believe, downfield, and only completed 1 of them. And I'm telling you, that 56% adjusted completion percentage on 20 plus yard, on passes of 20 plus yards, there we go, down the field, it's not sustainable. It's not. I don't think he's going to be able to replicate that number. He had a lot of checkdowns in this game. I think his average depth of target was like 6.2 yards. And the Rams literally had the football for 40 minutes. Like, this team was hardly on offense. You look at and to be fair, I think the offense is going to be better. I think Geno is going to be better. Damian Lewis is going to be better. He was matched up against Aaron Donald. I'm not gonna hound the guy because he gets destroyed by one of the best defensive players of our generation. I'm more concerned about this secondary. This defense in general. They couldn't get pressure. They couldn't. They kind of sucked. The secondary kind of sucked outside of Tyreek Woolen. If you didn't know Devin Witherspoon, he was inactive for this game. I'm hitting the panic button a little bit on this defense. I'm a little concerned. And let's talk about more concerned defenses. I got the Los Angeles Chargers here. They couldn't stop the Dolphins. They didn't have an answer. It'd be like, well, it's Tyreek Hill. Yeah, it's kind of hard to stop him and Jalen Waddle. I get that. But they couldn't even, slow him down. Brandon Staley is a defensive-minded coach. And his defenses, as head coach of the Chargers, have been maybe average at best. And he's brought in superstars onto this defense, and it hasn't mattered. I think Kellen Moore is going to be the head coach of the Chargers at some point, at the very least by next year, because the offense looked good. They had a run game, but it was defense that let them down. The defense was bad for your defensive-minded coach. Just throwing that out there. Fins up, though, baby. Fins up. I got the Cleveland Browns moving up one spot, still in this wild card contender. It was a sloppy game between them and the Bengals in terms of the weather. So I'm not really going to hound each quarterback for how they played. Like Deshaun Watson, ultimately, yeah, he had the better game, but like not much. It's not like he was incredible or anything. Defensively, I was just super impressed with what Jim Schwartz has done with this defense. They're loaded with stars. Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett might be the most terrifying edge duo in the league. They got Dalvin Tomlinson there on the interior. Cleveland they won an ugly game, and honestly, offensively, if they can win with the running game, they're more than happy. I think they had over 200 yards rushing in that game, which, I mean, in a soggy game like that, that's typically how you're gonna win. My number 11 team here, it kind of sucks because the Jets won. They won with Zach Wilson. Aaron Rodgers was only there for like 4 snaps and might be done for the season. He gets I'm recording this Monday night. He gets the MRI on Tuesday. So we'll know more information, but word currently is they fear it's season ended, that it's an Achilles injury. So we'll find out. Zach Wilson opened it on his first drive in, interception. I think it was his first drive or his second drive, regardless. Very early interception. This team ran the ball a ton because they didn't trust Zach Wilson. Now, when they needed him to make some throws here and there, he did it. Cool. Great. I'm happy for you. But it's not like he was super impressive. Garrett Wilson had a hell of a catch, that highlight catch. It just pushed it in, caught it down here. It was sick. It was nice. Breece Hall had a hell of a game. The defense played exceptionally well. Jordan Whitehead had a hell of a game. He had 3 receptions. Because it's what Josh Allen was doing, man. I don't know how sustainable, like if Zach Wilson is the quarterback for the rest of the year, I don't know if I can buy that team. I'm not willing to drop this team a whole ton. I want to see a few more games if Zach Wilson does have to be the quarterback. And then I'll kind of make a decision on where they should be. But I didn't feel confident putting them like, oh, they're absolutely a playoff contender if Zach Wilson is going to be the guy going forward. So, yeah, it kind of sucks. They are the top team, though, in my wild card contenders. Let's go ahead. Let's get to my playoff teams. I got 5, like, guaranteed. These guys, they are going to be a playoff caliber teams. I think they're going to be in the playoffs almost 100%. And that's going to start with the Detroit Lions. Listen, I don't care. No Travis Kelce, no Chris Jones for Kansas City. They still had to go in Arrowhead and beat Mahomes, and they did that. I'm excited for this Detroit team. I think they're on the up and up. Honestly, at this point, I do think they're the best team in the NFC North. Maybe the Packers have something to say about that. Maybe Minnesota's like, hey, we had an off week. We'll come back better than ever. Maybe Justin Fields turns it around. Coming out of week 1, I'm feeling good about the Detroit Lions. I think they ended up being one of my biggest risers in my power rankings. Next on the list here, I have the the Baltimore Ravens. They fall down a few spots. It's like, okay, well, they went out and they dominated and controlled that game against Houston. Their fall is on my list just because of injuries, like already hidden. Like Mark Andrews missed the game because of the quad injury. They're hoping he could get back. Marcus Williams, he's going to be out for an extended period of time because he tore his pec. J.K. Dobbins tore his Achilles. You had Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum coming out with their injuries are said to be maybe week to week, but still, like already the injury bug biting. That's huge. Not to mention Lamar, he didn't mind turn over the ball. He had like 2 fumbles and a pick, or was it vice versa? I can't recall. Regardless, I'm glad this team looks like they have great weapons in OBJ. They got Zay Flowers. They'll be getting Mark Andrews back. That's great. But I'm hoping injuries just don't hit to the squad. This is why I felt like I couldn't put them high. Next team on this list is the Buffalo Bills. I have them falling a little bit. I had them in that Super Bowl contender tier, and Josh Allen honestly makes this team a Super Bowl contender. But he needs to quit this whole, just carelessly slinging the ball. He had 2 arm punts for no good reason. 3 interceptions and a fumble. I get it. Like last year, you could live with Josh Allen's carelessness because he just turns out big time plays, big time throws like there's nobody's business. But that's not sustainable. And if that bites you in the playoffs, you're done. You're done. So I don't know. In good conscience, I just couldn't put them as a Super Bowl contender. Spencer Brown also really bad, but hey, James Cook looked really good. Defense honestly looked really solid as well, and they were down Kaiir Elam in this game. So yeah, good for them. I got the Miami Dolphins next though, baby, because I couldn't really decide between the two. The Dolphins and the Bills. It was kind of tough for me, but Dolphins had a really impressive outing. They didn't really even need the run game. Keep in mind, they had Kendall Lamb and Austin Jackson there because Terron Armstead was injured, and those guys did a solid job against the Chargers. Maybe that's more of an indictment on you, Brandon Staley. The Vic Fangio defense is as expected. Bend don't break. This Chargers team ran all over them, and they were allowing everything on the underneath into the intermediate to some degree. It was very much bend don't break, but it felt like they broke a ton. They allowed 34 points. So, I don't know. Hopefully the defense will be better going forward, but offensively, this team's got the firepower. It's just scary. Like, no, there aren't teams out there that have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle speed. There just aren't. And then the final team I have as my playoff teams is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I was thinking about throwing them in Super Bowl contender, but I'm not there yet. Trevor Lawrence looked great. Really, I think he only had the one pick, and it was that fluky throw to Tank Bigsby that just hit him in the helmet and bounced to was it Tyson Campbell? I think so. But like outside of that, the offense looked really good. They were able to run the football. They were obviously Calvin Ridley looked like a monster. Defensively looked pretty solid too. Like Josh Allen, I think he had like 3 sacks in the ball game. He had 4 pressures. They did a really, really good job, man. This is the team that does feel like that they're going to be in that Super Bowl contention. But I didn't have the balls yet to put them in that tier because I feel like that tier is special. But let's go over my Super Bowl teams. As this first team in is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. Listen, they started out slow last year. This game was like kind of a wet mess. So yeah, Joe Burrow didn't look great. The ball, like he had the bad fumble where he was going for the pass, slipped out of his hands. Everyone's making tiny hand jokes. Can we talk about Kenny Pickett, please? Is what it is. Everyone's talking about T. Higgins, 8 targets, no catches. Like, I feel like this is more of a mulligan. Honestly, I thought the defense looked solid. It was just offense couldn't get nothing going, so forced the defense to be on the field for an extended period of time. So kind of sucks, but I'm not going to give up on them yet. Remember, they started the year slow last year. I think they'll be able to get it together. We'll say, though, that Browns defensive line murdered the offensive line of the Bengals. My number 4 team here is the Dallas Cowboys. Defensively, they looked scary. Another game that was like just a wet mess, and they really didn't have to do anything offensively. They scored their first 2 touchdowns were a blocked field goal and a pick 6. So, but yeah, I mean, this is a team that added a whole ton of talent, and I'm I just feel like this is going to be a really good team during the regular season, and they should be a Super Bowl contender. Hopefully they don't let us down in the playoffs. Next team up is the Philadelphia Eagles. They drop a spot. Really not because of them. There was a team where I was like, oh no, this is the best team in the NFL right now, especially given week 1. So they really only moved down because of that. Defensively, looked fantastic. Yeah, the Darius Slay pick 6, granted. It was slipped off the receiver's hands, but it is what it is. Jalen Carter was a monster. This team was getting pressure all kinds of ways. The passing game still looked really good. Run game, not as much. And I don't know. Jalen Hurts looked like he was more willing to not take hits. So he didn't really have these big gains. But I think that's fine because this team is very good at passing the football. So I'm not too worried at all. I don't really think I have a concern on this team coming out of week 1. Maybe what star running back do they have? And it's like, Kenneth Gainwell's fine. He was the lead back for them. I think Swift had maybe a couple of carries. Penny was a healthy scratch, so that sucks. But yeah, no, they're still good. Kansas City Chiefs, next team here. Whenever they get Travis Kelce back, then you're going to feel great about the offense. But you have Patrick Mahomes, you're going to feel great about the offense anyway. I know some people were like, "Oh, it did feel great in that Thursday night game where they were dropping everything." It's like it didn't feel great, but I don't know. Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't bet against him. Chris Jones, he restructured his last year to where he's making like $19 million this year. I don't know. Regardless, he's back with the squad. Great. They're gonna be able to get pressure. The defense is gonna be much, much better. Chris Jones might be like the only other guy that's like on a Aaron Donald level. Number 1 team shouldn't be surprising here. It's San Francisco 49ers for me. They were just freaking impressive. I thought Brock Purdy was going to be a little bit slow coming out, and he was like, nah, I'm not saying this dude was like elite, but like he got the job done. Brandon Ayuk emerged looking great. And the offensive line maybe struggled a little bit, but like it was fine enough. They were able to run the football effectively. And I know Dallas's defense looked impressive. I don't think there's a better defense than the Niners. I think it's the Niners, and then I don't know, like go down maybe a mile, 2 miles, and then there you see like the Eagles and the Cowboys. I feel you could throw the Jets in there too. I feel that confidently about the Niners defense. They're that good at all levels. Amazing. So they are number 1 for me. But let me know what you think in the comment section below. And that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.